Okay, I want to welcome everyone to Straight Talk, and thank you for tuning in. I got my special guest one more time. I like interviewing this individual because some meat always comes out in this situation. So we're gonna have a very good time. Now I want you, as I always say, come on, you got to share this. See, we got to generate discussion back and forth, whether you agree or disagree. But we need to enter into that exchange. So I'm looking forward to you being a part of that exchange on Straight Talk as we do. So I'm gonna get straight into it. I got Metro Council President David James. And I'm gonna say it one more time. I enjoy interviewing David James because he brings a lot of meat to the table. He doesn't mess around. I like that. So it looks like we're going to have an opportunity to deal with some of these issues, but something really big has happened. And maybe folks don't see it my way. We're going to see, but I got to tell you, something big has happened, and it relates to an action that Metro Council took under the leadership of President David James. I'm gonna call you David after we get through with these formalities. You can
Please do.
call me Gerald, okay?
All right.
Who are we fooling, right? So the point is that some very significant action has been taken with respect to the budget. And the piece of the budget that I'm talking about is what you all just passed in terms of what the mayor agreed to put on the table, your table in Metro Council, that in adopting the budget, which is much bigger than the little part that I want to talk about, and we'll get into the budget a little bit too, is that you passed the funding for the West End Opportunity Partnership. And folks, I can say it now. He had his eyeball on us the whole time. So it wasn't like he didn't know or understand or had his eyeball on it, but he stayed enough distance away so he could do this with integrity. Let me tell you, I admire the way you handled that. That was really good. So I have Council President David James here today, and we're going to talk about the West End Opportunity Partnership. We're going to talk about the funding piece and the budget that he did. And we're just going to have a conversation about it, and we'll morph into something else as we go on. So, President James, also my friend David, would you please just jump on in there? What did you guys do? Tell me how that worked.
So we had a really good opportunity with the budget this year. And that was because of a lot of work that went early on from people like yourself, Senator Gerald Neal, President Stivers, Senator Morgan McGarvey, Pam Stevenson, Mayor Fisher, lots of people working together from the state level to the local level here in the city to work on the West End Opportunity Zone, which creates a TIF for the entire West Louisville, the 9 neighborhoods of West Louisville, which will be able to launch economic development like it's never been done before in West Louisville, controlled by the citizens that live in West Louisville. And so our contribution as a city in the budget process is $10 million. We passed that Thursday night. And now the state will be kicking in money, and there's going to be private investment putting funds into it, and the TIF will get activated. And in July, the board will be put together and for the TIF, and it's just fantastic. I thank everybody for working together as a big team. No egos involved. It was just, let's just get this done for our city. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you.
You know, your emphasis is exactly right. This was a team effort. No one can go out there and say they created or made this thing on their own stuff, but it was the coming together. I just, maybe you do this all the time. You're the president of the Metro Council. And of course, now, you know, I've been in state government a long time at the legislative level. But I'm going to tell you, I'm not quite so sure I've had a process take place between the state and the local level that was comprehensive over a long period of time, at least 9 months,
Yeah,
that came out with a
it
great
worked well.
product.
I've never seen anything like that happen before in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And I just think that it took everybody that was involved I mean, we had people, even people that weren't government people, like Craig Greenberg was involved. And so,
Yeah.
it was just amazing that it all came together and everybody was focused on this one thing. Let's get this done.
Yeah.
And we did it.
Well, we're gonna get into some of the details, but I got to talk about this background piece because I'm gonna tell you, I just got to tell you, as I went through this process, I started off a doubter. I'm just gonna tell you. I looked at it. I looked around the table. Here's Senator Stivers, the Republican leading the Senate, and here's Julie Rocky Adams, and they run the agenda all the time, whether I like it or
Yeah.
not. Some of it I like, sometimes I don't like it, right? And then here I have my friend, Democratic Caucus Chair Morgan McGarvey, as
Yeah.
well as myself. And then we had some additional people, such as that were important in this discussion, such as Yvonne
Yep.
Smith,
Yvonne
at
Smith.
One West, and
Nikki
Lanier at the
Yep.
Federal Reserve Bank. But here's the deal, though. I'm sitting down at this table, and I'm not gonna get into all the details of how this. Oh, let me add something. I think this never would have happened if it wasn't for the call for social justice, creating
Exactly.
that context. So
Exactly.
they inadvertently, or maybe didn't realize, that they actually created conditions for this discussion to take place. I would say that. Would
Absolutely.
you go that far?
I told people, because I had some people approach me and said, well, maybe y'all should have waited till next year. And I said, I don't know if it would have happened next year.
Right.
The timing for all this, the moon, the planets, all lined
Right.
up for this
Right.
time.
And there's nothing magical about next year.
Right.
You only have now. That's
Right.
all you can control. If you
Exactly.
can control it, right? You got to
Right.
act when the stars align, as you put. But here's the deal. So here it is. This is what's fascinating about me. When we started out our discussions, I'm sitting over there looking at these folks around this table. These are people I ball up my fist on sometimes, right?
Right.
And I could feel a little partisan tension there in the beginning. I don't know if you did or not, but I felt that, in the beginning. And then as this thing unfolding, I lost your picture. As this thing began to unfold, I'm listening. I'm listening more than saying anything, quite frankly, because I don't know what this is. I just know it's an opportunity to talk and
Right.
perhaps get somewhere. Nobody in that room knew where it was going.
Exactly.
But over time, that partisan thing seemed to evaporate.
It did.
I have not seen that.
I agree. It seemed to be the only thing that was focusing was what can we do to help people?
Yeah.
And that was the main conversation. And you're right, in the very beginning, there was a little tension there, but by the end, I didn't see any of that, or hear any of that, or feel any of that.
And I got to that, and that's when I said, wait a minute, there's something new going on here.
Right.
Exactly. I saw personal exchanges between individuals that don't talk like that. It was human beings talking to human beings trying to do something. I agree with your assessment. But the other thing I saw was, and this is what really got me, is that there was no high person or low person in the room. And
right.
You could put something out there and no one was afraid to put their thought out there. And guess what? Get smacked down.
Exactly.
And when they got smacked down, they didn't react. They went on to the next idea.
Right.
I said, wait a minute, we have a real discussion here.
Exactly. And we had those discussions in West Louisville, which I thought was really good for everybody. President Stivers, for example, is from Eastern Kentucky, and he would drive from Eastern Kentucky all the way to West Louisville just to meet. And I don't recall things like that happening in the past to talk about wherever we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, another element, and just jump in wherever you want to, because I want to set this stage, because I think this is important what we're talking about. Because we talk about the division, and believe me, those ideological divisions are still there in the frameworks we work in. But they were like taken off in this particular piece. But I got to tell you, and this is a point that I have to go back to, because I don't want folks to think that we're naive with respect to that. We didn't just come together and all of a sudden we're changed people out here. But
Right. That's
around
correct.
this particular issue, I feel pretty comfortable that there was real sincerity and real openness. I saw vulnerabilities in the various
Right.
people that were talking. They weren't, it wasn't defensiveness. And even when well, let me say, I saw some defensiveness. And then I saw folks from the other side lifting that person up saying, don't be defensive about it. Let's just talk it through. And I
Right.
said, be daggone. This is sweet.
Yeah, I saw that happen several times throughout the
Yeah,
process. Because in politics, unfortunately, sometimes when you say the wrong thing, that's going to be used against you at a later date, right?
no question.
And but that point passed in our meetings, and we were all saying things that we were throwing things out there that could be used against us later,
No
and
question.
no one used it against each other. We used it
No.
to try and learn from each other and to try and understand different points of view and to try to make this process better. And that is what I really enjoyed about it.
Let me tell you, David, some people, confidants of mine, after this was over and involved, said, well, hey, this is kind of secret, wasn't it? And I said, well, let me tell you, I don't think we knew where this was going.
Right.
And we just couldn't just get out there and go floating around. And then all of a sudden, it was clear that we was coming up on a legislative session and that the ability to do this was there. And we still didn't know if
Right.
it could pass. And then, in
Exactly.
fact, David, I'm telling you, I'm standing on the floor of the Senate.
Right.
Everybody, the people we named and some others we incorporated, was running from one end to the House to the Senate, talking to this person, talking to that person. This thing did not pass, and I got to call Representative Pamela Stevenson in there because she played a very key role. Let,
Absolutely.
let, let me tell you something. This thing boiled down to, I think it was about 20 minutes to midnight when we could not go another step and would have lost it all, and we passed it.
We did.
Bravo, man.
I have to tell you, I wasn't there, but I knew what was going on, and I was nervous. I thought,
You.
we put in all this work, we're not going to get there. Oh God, please make this work. And
Yeah.
and it did. It came through, and I'm so happy. I'm so excited about the potential here. It's
Yeah.
going to be amazing.
So let's talk about it a little bit. Let's talk about what we're so excited about for a minute. Here we have, and I'm just going to get to some basic tenets. Just jump in anywhere you want. But here's what we came up with, bottom line. We knew that we had to handle home stabilization because we all understand and have evidence of gentrification taking place as we speak in West Louisville, a community that we all will say has been neglected for decades. And I think we all will say part of that dynamics related to limited funds that Metro government has in the first place. But it's a complex discussion. I'm not going to get into pointing fingers, but we did find ourselves there in that
Right.
situation. And yet we were able to come together and say, well, one thing is key is that we had to stabilize home ownership, which meant those who owned and occupied their homes, just stabilizing that is an anti-gentrification act.
Exactly.
Just stabilizing it. Okay. So that was important. So, secondly, I thought it was extraordinary. I mean, just absolutely extraordinary that after our looking around the country and looking and talking to people in and outside the community, the whole thing, looking at mechanisms that other communities use and so forth, looking at mechanisms in the community, here we come up with a concept with respect to the home ownership that we would reimburse each owner who lived in their residence the taxes that the increase in taxes as of January 2021, dollar for dollar, that the increase that's caused would cause them to pay. In other words, they would not ultimately pay any additional increase in taxes to their property.
Absolutely. And I
Extraordinary.
remember we were all talking around the table when that came up.
20 years.
How to do that. And when everybody came to an agreement on that, I was like, oh, we're going to make progress.
And it scared me because we found out and realized that the Constitution put up all kind of barriers to that.
Mm-hmm.
But we found out that we couldn't cap it, we couldn't
Right.
freeze it, but we could reimburse it.
Absolutely.
So that entity could provide those funds. Perhaps they'll make the decision as a loan, and then those could be forgiven. And that would
Absolutely.
take that gentrification pressure off of those tax increases, which frequently force people out of their homes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when that was all recognized by everybody, I got to tell you, that's when I realized we were going to really make some real progress. And I think people don't really understand the depth and magnitude of that yet, but I think they will soon.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, there was that gap between, well, dang, they got to pay for it up front. But no, this governing board can set up a mechanism that that they won't spend a dollar.
Exactly.
You know, it's
Exactly.
all the way where the money flows and how it flows.
Right. Exactly. And the governing board makes that decision. And that's the other important part about this.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go there. I want to get in the middle of this one, but look at 20 years that will happen.
Absolutely.
And their heirs will get the same benefit if they live and stabilize those homes.
Absolutely. And it's just not for the person there now. It's for their family in the future. That builds wealth. That's what we've been talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. But what about this part? And focused on their having access to funds to rehabilitate their properties and
Absolutely.
get them in tip-top shape. So we're talking about stabilization on every level.
I agree.
That's exciting.
This is the mechanism to do it. It's going to be amazing. I haven't even seen anything like this anywhere else in the country. So
no, I haven't either.
I like it. I think it's great, and it's Kentucky that's doing it. It's amazing.
Isn't that something? Hey, and it's related to West Louisville. West Louisville.
Amen.
So let's talk about the economic development side. And I saw your interview the other day. Excellent comments. And let me say to you, dealing with that economic development side, focusing on existing businesses and how we would stabilize it in order them to grow was important in this process. And then there's the open side of this, and that is those who are not covered by what I just said: new investment, new businesses, new individuals coming in, that this board can actually develop strategies to increase economic development and home ownership on top of what we just said.
Absolutely. And that is what it's all about. And it's concentrated in an area that has been neglected for so long. And that's just perfect.
So let's talk about that governing board. I saw you headed there because this is unique as well. Now, and you just got to bear with me. Just plow me down if you have to.
Okay.
But
all right.
You know, think about what was put together here. A 21-person board, 12 of them institutionally based. You know, from the Urban League to the NAACP to a foundation seat to One West entity. You know, dedicated to economic development and home improvement, that sort of thing. I could go on the University of Louisville. Think of the reason. What folks might miss is that each of those entities don't just bring a seat to the board, they bring the capacities of their organizations. You know, this is not just somebody just walking up on the street saying, hey, let's just have a great idea. They bring in capacity to that table.
Exactly. And that's when you think about that, the resources that each of those organizations have available to them is so deep.
And they're excited.
Exactly, it's good. And then when you talk about the citizens from the 9 neighborhoods,
you start, go for it.
The 9 neighborhoods that make up West Louisville, each have a seat at that table.
Yeah.
And they are going to control how this works. I mean, I've not seen anything like this anywhere else in the country. And to think that the people that live in those neighborhoods are going to get to decide how this is going to work. It's not going to be a bunch of politicians sitting around the table deciding
Right.
how it's going to work.
Government
It's
will
going to
not
be people
run
that
this.
live there. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Isn't that something?
It's
But
amazing.
I tell you, points got to be made, and it may make some folks, but let me tell you something. We're talking about multi-million-dollars expended over at least a 20-year period.
Exactly.
So this isn't a game. This isn't community organizing. This isn't all those other very important things. This is business. And it's
Absolutely.
going to take expertise. And here's the satisfying thing about the neighborhood piece. The expertise is in the community. It's there. I
Absolutely.
know people personally that
Yeah,
I couldn't sit in their seat in terms of their
exactly.
expertise, in each of those neighborhoods. And
Absolutely.
hey, David, and on top of it, an advisory group which
Hmm.
amplifies the voice of those 9 neighborhoods. Nobody's going to be on that but representatives from each of those 9 neighborhoods.
Exactly. Exactly. I think it's a brilliant piece of public policy that years from now, other cities, other states are going to go, we need to do what they did because this is absolutely amazing.
Look at David. My cousin used to be mayor of Columbus, Ohio. He was mayor of Columbus, Ohio for 15 years. And he retired. I mean, he didn't have to. I mean, they love him there, right?
Right.
And so he's back in the business world, enjoying himself and so forth. So we were talking the other day, and I called him for something else. And I told him, I said, yeah, we did so and so. He said, what did you do? And I started because when he was mayor, you know how they drive those highways in communities and divide them up, just like we
Hmm.
got that 9th Street divide.
Yep.
While he was mayor, he instituted a construction over the highway that reconnected the Black community.
Oh,
Think
okay.
about this, okay?
I like that.
So I called him about that because that issue has been coming up, in what they're doing nationally. And I told him what we were doing here. He stopped all that conversation. He said, "What?" And we was on the phone. I don't know how long. He said, "You got to send that to me. You got to." I never heard. I said, "We were doing." He was describing what they were doing, which was very extraordinary. But he said it was nothing like this. This
Right.
is huge. He said, "I've never heard of anything like this." So he said, "You got to send that." So you know what that means. He's gonna be over there talking to people. Hey man, we finna do
Exactly.
this and that. So we're inspiring, and that's a concrete example. And we've gotten inquiries from across the nation already. And this thing isn't even in place yet till July 1.
Exactly. So I just think that in the future, people will look at this and go, this is, what I've heard in my time is a lot of talk about making things better,
Yeah.
very little action. But this is actually action, and it will actually work. And that's amazing.
Another component. This is the one I love because what is happening here is because you're not just walking up to powers that be, whoever that may be, and saying, do your job. You're not walking up to somebody from a neighborhood or something and saying, I have a thought, I have an opinion. Here's what I'd like for you to do. Instead of just doing that, now because you are fully funded, starting off with $30 million, getting recurring millions of dollars for an annual period for 20 years, now all of a sudden, you're a big boy too.
Right.
And you're making plans.
Exactly.
So now when you're talking, you're carrying the girth of that kind of piece. That is so real. So that means the powers that be, when you sit down, they understand you have capacity. You're not asking about just bring your capacity. You're bringing capacity.
Exactly. You're bringing something to the table. You carry it in your pocket, and that's amazing. It's beautiful.
Without government direction.
Exactly. Exactly. Centered at the grassroots level, centered from the neighborhoods that are actually going to be affected, listening to the neighborhoods that are actually going to be affected. and coming together in thought and mind in a diverse sort of way to create great things is just, it's good. It's good.
Just extraordinary, isn't it? I'm gonna tell you. I try to, one of the things. What my mantra through this whole thing is, look, guys, let's not oversell this thing, because you and I both know this is not a panacea. This is not,
No.
manna is not gonna fall from the sky.
Nope.
This is gonna take serious work, serious brain power, serious commitment. The stars are gonna have to get aligned now and then. The entities that are already occupying in these spaces, including city government, including other entities that function in housing and so forth, they're going to have to do it right. They're going to have to get this right. They're going to have to start a new discussion, and they're going to have to figure it out.
Right. And there's going to have to be some strategic long-term planning that takes place here. And those discussions are going to have to take place. I feel confident they will. Because, the moment this goes into effect, things aren't going to change the next day. That's when the conversations start. That's how you get to where you're going to be. That's when, years from now, we look back and we look at what was there and what is there now and what's coming because of this moment. It's going to be great.
So now we get to the money.
Yes.
$10 million authorized by the state. Think about that. And then Thursday, $10 more million authorized by local government, metro government. So Metro Louisville has as much commitment, buy-in to this as the state did on this.
Exactly.
And now what is left on the funding side is the $10 million from private sources, which discussions are starting to begin as we speak.
Absolutely. And I've talked to some of those private sources, and they're very excited about
that's what I'm
the opportunity to be a part of this because they recognize the significance of what has taken place, and they want to be a part of it. They want to help be a part of it, and they want to have some of their skin in the game, and that's important.
Yeah, I think then folks got to understand that now we have from July 1st to the to June 30th. I think there's 30 days in June. It might be 31 to raise that $10 million. But in the talks I'm having, it would not surprise me that we cut that time in half. And
I would agree.
think that's a long period of time.
Right.
But all those things got to be aligned. Okay. So we get that 30 million. Let's say that. Okay. So I want to back up just a little bit. Tell us a little bit about Metro Council and your leadership, and don't be shy. Share what you can. I've watched you. I watched you in this process. You didn't put a thumb on it. You didn't try to insert your authority. I mean, after all, you're the president of Metro Council, right? After all, they're saying you got to have so much money to do this stuff. Yet, I saw you put your ear to the wall. I saw you input appropriately, but not insert yourself to the extent where it would impugn your integrity as the leader of that Metro Council. I thought that was artful. I'm just going to tell you, I haven't said that to you yet. I'm going to say it right now publicly. I thought that was absolutely artful, and I congratulate you on that.
Well, thank you, man. I just think that as we were going through the budget process and me having these conversations with you and everybody else 9 months ago, and knowing the amount of work and integrity and ethical, thought conscious conversations that took place to get to where we were, I felt that it was important that as I was helping usher this through the Metro Council, through local government, that I wanted to make sure that it had integrity, that if people understood the importance of it and the importance that we as local government needed to have to invest in our citizens and to be partners with the state and private entities to come together to wrap our arms around a geographic part of our city that had been neglected decade after decade after decade, to just put our arms around it and lift it up. And I felt that it was one of the most important things that we could do on the council this year. After everything else that we've gone through over the last year, it was a statement that we had to make. It was a moral part of the budget document that had to be passed, and having the conversations with the other council members and them understanding. And I remember inviting you all to one of our committee meetings, and
Yes,
you all
thank you for that.
talking and answering questions and verifying things that I had already been saying, and it helped tremendously. And I think it showed that we weren't just talking about working together, that we were all working together. We knew each other. We've been doing this.
Yeah.
Right. And so Thursday night, when they counted the votes, and I was like, yes. And so it felt like putting a pin in it and saying, let's do it. Let's go now. And so I'm just glad that it all worked out. The mayor made it a part of his budget presentation, and the executive branch and the legislative branch, even on your side of the fence, the legislative branch working with the governor's office, the executive branch, to make this happen and to help usher it through. I think everybody recognizing that this is so important. That's a rarity in our state. I'm just telling you. And so it's good.
Well, so I know you didn't get into all the nitty gritties of what happened on the
I'll let that part stay away.
I heard no pushback at all. I got nothing. Somebody had to have been pushing back. I'm not talking about asking questions. I'm talking about, come on. You don't have to name a name. Did you get any pushback? I got to know. I just got to find out.
I would tell you there was a little pushback.
Okay.
But and I don't know that it what I would say is where pushback was met, it was full, wholehearted discussions that took place, explanations, documents exchanged, information provided, and there were an inability to tear it apart simply because of the true nature of it. And because when you say to somebody, okay, you don't like it, what would you do better?
Yeah.
And how would you do it?
Yeah.
And
that's a hell of a thing.
Yeah. And so there's no answer for that because of the limitations of the Constitution and our state laws and all those things. There is not an answer for that. And so, and once that is understood, everybody got on board, and it worked out well.
Yeah, it don't sound like pushback to me. You know what it sounds like to me? I have questions and I want them answered.
Exactly.
And I think that's fair.
It is fair.
That's what we do, right?
Because they came. A lot of people came into it on the other side of it, right?
Yeah.
And so, because when you just think about this, if you're a council person, hadn't heard about this, and then someone says, well, we need 10 million tax dollars to do this thing, and you're like, what?
What?
And then when you actually look at it, listen to it, understand who's involved, why they're involved, how it's going to be put together, and you look around the country to see if there's anything similar, and there's not, and then you say, why not? And then here we are. So the potential for so much good to be able to come out of it, and the cost is $10 million compared to the cost of not doing it.
Yeah.
It's an easy decision.
Let me make an observation and think about this. I know this exists, but I don't know when or if. It has to exist somewhere. But think about it for a minute. You have the General Assembly of Kentucky. There's 100 state representatives, there are 38 senators. They have to agree totally on what they're doing to pass anything, let alone that $10 million. Because we also
Right.
set up that structure and all these things that we put into law. Think about it just for a moment. What does someone who represents someplace in Paducah or represents somewhere in Harlan County or Clay County for that matter, where the Senate president is from, or in Northern Kentucky have to do with west of 9th Street and north of Algonquin Parkway? What do they get out of that? Can you imagine the lift that we had to overcome to get them to agree to do something in this place called West Louisville?
Right. Right. Because many people, they're like, West where?
Yeah.
Didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was just Louisville.
Yeah.
So there was a tremendous amount of education and conversations that had to take place throughout the legislature. And quite frankly, anything the legislature does for, quote, Louisville, is not always an easy lift. Because
you say that nicely.
Yeah, people often say to me, they'll say to me, I think the legislature is divided amongst D's and R's. And I said, yeah, there is that, but I think it's the bigger divide is urban and rural.
I agree.
And understanding that and bridging that divide, especially with this piece of legislation, was a monumental task. So when you and Morgan and Senator Stivers and Pam and Julie were working to try and educate and communicate with the different ends of our state from top to bottom, east and west, that is not easy.
No.
And so because every one of those senators and representatives have their own constituency groups, their own concerns, their own problems, right?
Limited amount of money.
And limited amount of money. And to get a commitment for $10 million for this new idea is not an easy sell. But another thing I always talk to people about when they talk about Louisville is that whether you want to admit it or not, Louisville is the economic engine of the state. And if Louisville isn't healthy, then it's hard for the rest of the state to be healthy. And so Louisville's not healthy if West Louisville's not healthy.
Yeah.
And so,
so
getting all that worked out is important.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you that's a sentiment that was embraced by all of us, Republican and Democrat, when we were talking about this, okay? But here we go. We got the legislature overcoming this piece. And just to show you how hard it was, we had no idea it would pass until it passed. And that was like a few minutes, 15, 20 minutes before the end of the legislative session. And let me just tell you, David, you should have been there. Man, it was like a ballet. It had individuals, the key players running, communicating, tamping this down, lifting this up, cutting this deal, doing this. We all were like moving like this. I mean, did not know till the very last second. In other words, the vote. And there it was. It was an amazing feeling. I've been in the legislature over 30 years, and I cannot remember a time where I felt like I felt just from the whole process of how we got to that vote and accomplished that. But here's the next stage of it. Now there's a governor, Andy Beshear. That's all.
Absolutely. That's right.
Picked it up immediately after we passed this sucker. We started talking about it to him. He and his staff. So they understood, for instance, that the taxing authority, Kentucky State Revenue, they're the ones that have to set up the constructs to make this concept a reality. They're still working on that. But I was so pleased that he was like all in.
Absolutely.
All in. Okay.
Absolutely.
What can I do? How do I use my offices to help move this forward? What do we have to do in terms of our agencies to make sure that this proceeds with integrity? So I got to take my hat off to him. So now we got the legislature and we got the governor. And by the way, the governor is he's appointing 8 of the 12
Yes.
institutional folks on that governing board. So
Right.
that's a very important thing that he's doing, and we'll be sitting down with him further to make sure we all understand what we're doing here. But that's one point. Now we come down to Metro.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a mayor,
Yep.
Ray Fisher.
Yes.
Come on. I've seen you criticize the mayor. I've seen, look, Stivers, is always throwing a bomb at the mayor. The mayor's throwing a bomb back. I don't mean literally, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And yet, here is a mayor who got it.
He did. And he's participating.
Flinch. David.
Yep. He's got both feet in.
David, I was in a meeting. I asked for a meeting with him and Ellen Hassan, the deputy mayor. I can't remember who else was in it. And we had that kind of talk. Were you in that meeting? We did on Zoom?
No, I wasn't there for that one.
Okay. Oh, yeah, it wouldn't have been appropriate for you on that one. So,
right.
And sort of laid this out on what we needed from them, because we just asked them for $5 million.
Right.
And the discussion came up with, Mr. Mayor, the city needs to own this.
Exactly.
As much as the state. You know what? I'll consider that. And guess what? When that budget proposal came together, I got a call before it hit the ground. He said, I just want you to know. And that's where the 5 and 5 came.
Absolutely.
In. I don't know who else was talking to him. I'm just talking about my talks with him.
Right.
My point is, he didn't. I'm reporting this publicly. He did not flinch.
No, he did not.
Carefully. He had his folks listening very carefully. I saw them taking notes. And then we didn't have another discussion about this. I gave him his room. And he may have been talking to others. But, the next thing I know, that 5 and 5, that 10 million was in that budget. I said, oh, Lord.
Exactly.
Another step.
Exactly.
A legislature, a state legislature, a state executive, referred to as a governor, and now a local executive known as a mayor, and then what comes up? They call it Metro Council.
That's it.
When does that ever happen? Now you can tell me, because you deal in Metro Council. I don't recall that. Straighten me out.
So then the Metro Council comes up, and so my goal at that point is to play defense, right?
Yeah.
That means, as we're trying to plug budget holes and things like that, don't look at that money. It doesn't exist. Don't touch it. We got a purpose for it, and that purpose is for X. You touch that money, we got problems. So it's not there. Erase it from your mind. It's like the Jedi mind trick. And so everybody agreed with that. And, the mayor was 100% on board. The council got 100% on board. Governor's 100% on board. State legislature's 100% on board.
When have you seen that?
And I'm sorry.
When have you seen that?
I don't
I'm
think
sure it
I've
happened,
ever,
but I don't know about it.
I've never seen it. And I just felt like this is like perfect timing. And if it had not been for some other things that had taken place in our city, in our country, I don't know that we could have done it, quite frankly. And so it just came out just right.
So let me say 2 more things, and I gotta hit you on a couple other things. Gotta get you.
Okay.
So now we got to get that last 10 million, and we're confident in that area, and things are positive in the discussions that are being had, and we got a year to do it. And I think it'll be much less than that. We got to seat a board, and I'm hoping that can be done in at least a 2-month period, because it's a process where there's an announcement about the whole board, so it can begin to govern. That board's going to be self-perpetuating, which means government will not be directing this board in any way.
Correct.
That board then is going to have to put these pieces together. They're going to have to put the plan together and decide how to use their weight, so to speak, and their strategic decision making as to how creatively they can leverage these funds and or use these funds in a way that can take it where it says it's going to go. I'm
Right.
not saying what it's going to do, you know. I'm glad that Metro Council has a nominee to make at that board.
Yep.
The governor has a nominee to make at that board. I think that's just critical in this particular
Absolutely.
situation. So look what we got here. We got long-term investment and connection and ownership
We
by
do.
each level of government, state and local. That, my friend, is extraordinary.
It is. That it is, as I said, it would not have happened any other time, any other way.
So let me run down quickly what it ends up being. I made a note of this.
Okay.
A governing board of 21 members, planning and decision making and self-perpetuating. A representative of each of the neighborhoods on that board. A representative from each of those 9 neighborhoods on an advisory board that's structurally tied in. So this is not
Hmm.
somebody over to the side. They are
Right.
part of the game as well.
Exactly.
Required finance, equity, and community engagement training. This is not a novice game. This is a game
Right.
for folks that bring their experience, their talent, their education, everything to the table. Institutional involvement and commitment, that's built into the board and beyond with respect. Required local participation agreement with Metro government, which is the big kahuna in the room. A biennial report to the General Assembly. You know, some people might say that, well, that's oversight. Let me tell you what that does. That gives us a platform on which to
Hmm.
make a case for corrections on the
Yep.
state level and for additional things that we think would be needed, if needed, from the legislative level. So that mechanism is key. Required conflicts of interest disclosure. I think that speaks for itself. And here's the one I love: designed to promote collaboration between existing and new players in the footprint. This will be necessary to have optimal success.
Absolutely.
I
With a period.
congratulate you, my friend. I congratulate you. And I tell you, we worked together for a number of years and we've done a lot of good things. I think we think. But I'm going to tell you, I really enjoyed working with you and the others with respect to this. But there's a heavy lift ahead of us. And,
There
you
is.
know, in our respective roles outside of the governing board, we're going to be supportive. And where we think something's ill advised, we're going to inform. But they're going to
Correct.
make the decisions, not us. That's
Exactly. I agree.
love it.
Thank you for everything you've done to get this going.
Well,
I appreciate your leadership.
well, I appreciate it. But yeah, we'll see. We're going to, if done right, we'll look back on this and chuckle and say,
That's
okay,
right. I agree.
Okay, now let's switch up a little bit,
Okay.
real briefly. This budget that you all passed, that the governor put on the table, that you all modified only slightly, I understand.
Hmm.
It looked really extraordinary in and of itself to myself. I don't think I've seen a budget like this.
There hasn't been a budget like this before. You know, the opportunity to do a budget like we've done this year comes once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
And because of a extraordinary set of circumstances that we lived through over the past year, and because of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and the pandemic all coming together at the same time, created a set of circumstances that financially for our government is unheard of.
Yeah.
And so we were able to pass a budget unlike any budget we've done before. And we're getting ready to put money into the community through the ARP funds from the Biden administration. On top of that, you know, if it had not been for the ARP funds, we would not have been able to free up funds within our budget to do the things that we've done. And so both of those things combined are going to allow us to do some really creative, bold things here in Louisville. And so we're going to have some community meetings and community hearings later in July, so people can give their input. And then we're going to have some meetings to talk about it, put our heads together, wrap our arms around it. And by September, October, that money will start to come out into the areas that it needs to come out in, and lifting up our city in a way that we would not be able to at any other time. And so I'm just real happy about it.
You know, you started this interview that turned into a discussion, and I hope it didn't appear too much like a love fest because it's so serious and it's so real. But
It is.
I will say this, that in terms of these things that are done, you started this discussion with the stars aligning, and I think you just identified the alignment of the stars. If those factors didn't come together, if the conditions were not created by the reaction and the call for social justice, if the conversations on the state and federal level were not undertaken with respect to that, if a certain level of trust was not germinated and sprung from those interactions and the environment that was created, if the timing of when it was available to even get it into a line to get it done was not perfect. And let me tell you, I've already told you that this thing was like maybe 15, 20 minutes short of getting passed.
Right.
We never knew until it happened. We just worked
Exactly.
in. Not to mention what you just said about the local budget, et cetera. We would never be having this discussion here today. So
You're
now,
right.
so now we got the heavy lift, because that governing entity, once seated, is going to have to do some significant work, and we're going to see if done right. You know, we're going to have to be there for that, which raises another question. It's kind of related, but you know, we'll see about this. I've worked with you for a number of times. I know you were going to be on the, in fact, had announced that you was going to run for mayor. And you know, I think by any measure, you'd have to, someone have to look at you and say, "Where experience ain't the issue here. This person has the experience on multiple levels. The timing of that experience that correlates with what's going on in our community seem to align as well. And I think on top of it, the fact that you are president of Metro Council, you're not just somebody just wants to do good, because there's a lot of people that want to do good, and I don't disparage them in any way. You got to start somewhere, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yet you announce, for personal reasons, that you were not going to go forward. I don't want to get you to say anything you don't want to say, but I have to ask you, my friend, and I have to ask you,
sure,
what we doing here?
All right. So, you know, I'll keep it brief. The after I had announced, I had learned that I was having some medical issues, and the end result of those medical issues is that I had prostate surgery about 3 weeks ago, in which I'm still recovering from.
Yeah.
And got to have another surgery this Wednesday coming up. And I gave it a lot of thought, talked to my wife about it pretty heavily. And, you know, sometimes you just have to get focused on you to be able to make it to do good things. And so, as my wife told me, you're not going to be able to help anybody if you're not here. So you got to take care of you first. And so I made the decision to bow out of the mayor's race and to focus on me, focus on my family, and getting me healthy again is my number one goal right now.
Well, it seems to me that you have your priorities straight. I don't think there's a question there, but I got to say this, and this is not to undermine anyone else that's in that field or pretends to be in that field. But I got to tell you, and I don't know if you picked up on it, the reaction from that. And I'm talking about people that were not committed. And I'm talking not I don't, forget the people committed. We know where they're coming from,
Right.
right?
Right.
Was pause, very serious pause, because I think they all saw you as a formidable candidate with respect to this particular piece. And I think it sort of tossed things in the air with respect.
Hmm.
But you know, something else I picked up? I picked up something like you, he is the captain of that decision. And it was like acceptance, sort of almost grudgingly, quite frankly. I'll share that with
Right.
you. But I thought it was an extraordinary response, quite frankly. And I'm getting it from multiple levels. I'm tied into a whole lot of people. But it was very respectful, and it was actually a compliment to you. I'll say that.
Yeah. I have to say that since I've made that announcement, I did that piece with Wave 3. I let them follow me as through part of my journey with this.
Yeah.
That I thought it was important that men, especially Black men, um, take health seriously. Right? When your body's telling you something, you need to listen to it,
Yeah.
and do something about it, and go get regular checkups. But also, since I made my announcement, I have to say that the amount of outpouring of love and support and prayers that I've gotten from people I don't even know. I've come home almost every day this week, and I've had flowers and fruit baskets sitting on the porch, and I just can't thank people enough for the well wishes that I've received from everybody, and just want to say thank you to everybody.
Well, I just want to, and you know this to be true. I just want to add my comment to that, my concern, but my love and my expectation that all will end well,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
everything will be just fine. And so you have our prayers as well. My wife Kathy sends uh, her expressions as well, along with mine. So I want to say that. But
Well,
I'm gonna
thank
tell you
you.
where I'm coming from. Now we got to wrap up for a minute.
All right. All right.
I look forward to working with you going forward.
Well, thank
And
you.
I just I've watched you through this process, my friend. I watched you for a long time. We've been interacting for a while.
That's right.
But I got to tell you something, man. I just got to say that I've watched you grow. I don't know if you felt like you grew. I don't know if what I was observing was growth, but
Oh, it
it
probably
looked
was.
like
I
growth
always
to
tell
me.
people I learn something new every day in this role. So, yes.
I watched you grow. One of the things I think is really important is that you're, and maybe this is what I like about you, because you're very direct. You don't mealy mouth about anything. And if someone comes into your space and they got it wrong, you're gonna tell them. And if they got it right, you're gonna tell them. But you're gonna tell them what it is. And I think that is so important. And I think you've done it well. And I
Thank you.
expect you to continue to do that. And I look forward to working with you into the future. So, having said that, my friend, the last word's on you.
All right. Last words on me is thank you for having me here. Thank you for being my mentor. Thank you for all the things you've done. I learned from you just by watching you sometimes. So you may not know it, but I'm learning from you. But I really want to say that
Talk to my
as we
wife about
go,
that, will you?
I'll tell
Okay.
her. As we go forward in our city, I think it's so important that everybody recognize and understand that with all the things that we have going on, the social unrest, the high homicide numbers, and the shootings and the violence, and the pandemic, and all of those things going on, we are still Louisville. We are still here, and we are going to rise from this moment, right? And we are going to be bigger and better than we were before. And we will be more equitable and just than we were before. And our government and our citizens are going to come together like they never have before. And we will move forward together to make our city better. And we'll have some uncomfortable conversations. We may yell and shout a little bit. Democracy is messy. It's okay if it's messy. It's okay if we yell and shout at each other, because it is okay, because that's how in a democracy we move forward. And so I'm excited about Louisville. I'm excited about the opportunities that are being created for everybody in our city right now. And people are going to be lifted up and do great things. And I want to sit back and clap and applaud and push and just make things better. And I want us all to do that together.
I could not add a word to that. Ladies and gentlemen, President David James, President of Louisville Metro Council. God bless my good friend and good fortune.
Thank you, man. You have a great day.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye from Straight Talk, and do the right thing.